Hi everyone, welcome to another 30-minute Pilates. Make sure you watch the pre-information class video first and we will get started. So we're going to start with our feet together. We're going to turn our toes out. We're going to take our heels out to join them. So just glance down to make sure your feet are where they're meant to be. And we're going to think about weighing down on your big toe, your little toe and your heel. So just equally distribute that weight. Coming up to your knees, we're going to have the knees nice and spongy, just give those a little bit of a wiggle. Up to our hips, we're going to imagine we've got that bucket of water in our hips, it's really full, and we're trying to keep that level. So no hiking side to side, front to back. Think about tucking the tailbone under slightly, keeping that pelvis level. We've got those two little headlights on the front, they're facing forward. Up to our midsection, we need about 30% tension in that belly. So just pull the spine back slightly, make sure you can still breathe. Our ribs, we're going to think about knitting the ribs down in towards the hips as well. So sometimes when we breathe, we flare the ribs up, but we're thinking about pushing those back down again. We're going to take a deep breath in through our nose. We're going to pick our shoulders up towards our ears. We're going to push them back, and then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. Fantastic. We're going to repeat this a couple of times. So breathing into the nose, breathing back out through the mouth, making the circles a little bit bigger each time. Really think about squeezing them up towards the ears. If you want to close your eyes while you do this, you can too. Do one more after this. Slide them down the back. Fantastic. And I want you to imagine you've got a pane of glass in front and behind you. And we're going to lengthen up through the spine. We're going to grow a little bit taller. And then we're just going to slide in between those panes of glass. And keeping it nice and slow and controlled. Just let the arms and the shoulders relax. If you want to just let the head go towards the shoulder, just to get that little bit of a neck stretch. You can do that too. Keep the movement nice and slow. Don't knock yourself off balance. The hips are staying still. And we're breathing into the nose. And then we're breathing back out through the mouth. Okay, we're going to go one more each side and finish back in the center. And we're going to lengthen up. We're going to place our hands roughly on near our elbows or the tops of our arms. We're going to lengthen up through the spine again. We're going to keep our chin parallel to the floor. The hips are going to stay nice and stable. And then we're just going to rotate the shoulders round. So we've got that spinal rotation now. Breathing in through your nose, breathing back out through your mouth. I'm going to go one more each side. I'm going to finish back in the center. I'm just going to float the arms back down. We're going to do our roll downs and we're going to go out into a plank and then downward dog. So make sure you've got enough room in front of you. So make sure your feet are roughly underneath your hips, lengthening up through that spine, breathing in through your nose, on the out breath, tucking the chin in, rolling the shoulders down, pulling that belly button in, keeping the knees nice and spongy, taking it down about halfway, breathing in when you get here. And then breathing out and slowly rolling that back up. So vertebrae by vertebrae. All the way back up to the top. Finishing with the shoulders, rolling shoulders back, stacking the head. Breathing in, breathing out. Rolling that spine down, vertebrae by vertebrae. Imagine you're a slinky going down the stairs, extra slow. Take it a little bit further this time. Put a bigger bend in the knees the further you get down.
Breathe in at the bottom, breathe out on the way back up. Lengthening up and stacking that spine at the top, so we're just growing a little bit taller each time we come back up. Tucking the tailbone under as we come back up too. Okay, we're going to do one more and we're going to finish down, and we're just going to dangle there for a second. So when you get there, just put a nice big bend in the knees, keeping that belly button in. If you want, you can place your hands on each elbow. We've got that ragdoll style position. Maybe just give the arms a little bit of a wiggle, give the head a wiggle. Relax the upper part of the body. Breathing into the nose, breathing back out through the mouth, lengthening that spine. When you're ready, we're going to walk our hands out into that plank position. So you want to make sure your wrists are underneath your shoulders, your belly button's pulled in, your glutes are tensed, you're pulling your kneecaps up towards your hips. Your neck is going to be in a neutral position, so you want your gaze roughly at the tips of your fingers. So don't tuck the head under and look at what the rest of the body's doing. We're keeping that gaze down. Pushing through your wrists to keep the shoulders engaged too. We're keeping the ribs knitted down in towards the pelvis as well, so don't flare the ribs out. We're getting that core working all as one. We're going to take a breath in through our nose. On the out breath, we're going to push through our wrists and we're going to push our bum back into that downward dog position. If you want to walk the heels here, just to get a nice stretch with the back of the legs, you can. Breathing in, breathing out, rolling back through the spine, down into that plank position. Again, resetting yourself up, pushing through the hands, keeping the belly button pulled in. Squeezing the glutes, pushing the heels back, keeping that belly in, breathing in through your nose, breathing back out through your mouth. On the next breath, we're going to push through our hands, we're going to come back into that downward dog position. Walk those heels again. You want to make sure your ears are roughly in line with your biceps here. And you're still pushing through the wrists, keeping the shoulders nice and engaged. Breathing in, breathing out, rolling back through, back into that plank position. Holding it here for another couple of breaths. Check your positioning, think about pulling the belly in, squeezing the glutes, pushing the heels back, keeping the legs nice and straight. Pushing through the wrists, keeping the shoulders engaged. One last breath here. And then we're slowly going to lower ourselves down to the floor for our swan dive. So get yourself relatively comfy. We're going to place our hands in our W position. You want the hands roughly in line with the head. You're just going to let the heels roll in on the back. I want you to imagine that you're on a really thin frozen lake, so that there's not much pressure in the arms at all, and also the cold is making you suck your belly up in towards your spine as well. So breathing in through our nose, on the out breath, we're going to peel the head up, peel the chin up really slowly, squeezing the shoulder blades, and then slowly placing that back down. So breathing in, breathing out, peeling the top part of the body up off the floor, just towards the bottom of the rib cage, squeezing those shoulders to do that. And then placing that back down again. So imagine the ice is really thin, and if you put pressure in the hands or you do the movement too quickly, you're going to fall through the ice.
So we're keeping it nice and slow and controlled. Or you can imagine it's a frozen puddle, actually. That's a little bit safer, isn't it? It's not as scary. If you want to increase, you can take the arms up as you lift up. Pull those back. And place them back down. We're still keeping engagement in our core. We're breathing in at the bottom. Breathing in at the top. We're breathing out on that movement. So as we go up and as we come back down, really think about squeezing those shoulder blades together. So we're pulling the elbows down and back, and we're pulling the shoulders back too. Movement is staying nice and slow and controlled. The head's in a roughly neutral position. We are lifting it up slightly as we go. Not overextending the neck. I'm going to do 2 more. On that second one, once you're finished, just place the hands underneath the forehead. Just take a couple of breaths here. I'm going to do a double leg kick. So you probably can't even see my legs, can you? Let me move around a little bit. There we go. So we're staying in this low down position. So we're keeping the head on the floor. We're going to flex our feet and we're going to place our toes on the floor, and we're going to think about straightening the knees as well. So we're keeping that engagement in. We're going to take a deep breath in. On the out breath, we're going to kick the heel towards the bum and then bring that back. And I say kick, it's slow and controlled. So we're bringing that up, taking that back down. So these are for our hamstrings. We're squeezing the glutes. We're keeping the foot flexed. We're really trying to pull the heel towards the bum. Keeping it nice and slow and controlled. If you want to increase, you can do both legs at the same time. Again, keeping the movement nice and smooth. If you want to advance this at home at all, you can put ankle weights on just to increase that movement, increase the resistance. Keeping the belly button pulled in still as well. And I've got a little bit of tension in the glutes. We're going to do 3 more. Into the nose, out through the mouth. Once you've done those, we're going to come back into our child's pose. So place the hands underneath the shoulders. I'm going to place the feet together, spread the knees, sit the bum back, and just lengthen that all back out. Just place the forehead on the floor and take a few breaths here. When you are ready, we're going to come back down into our lay position. I'm going to need to go somewhere where you can see me a little bit better. I have no idea where to go. Okay. So we're going to be laid down flat. We're going to do our swimming, but instead of doing it on all fours, we're going to do it completely flat on the floor. So I want you to extend your arms out in front of you and your feet behind you. You can't really see my hands, but the hands are fine. The hands are just completely flat. I want you to think about keeping the belly button pulled in. We're going to knit the ribs down in towards the hips as well. We're squeezing the glutes. We're going to take a deep breath in on the out breath, keeping the arm really straight. We're going to lift the one arm up and we're going to place it back down. We're then going to lift the other arm up and place that back down. We're going to do the same with the legs. So breathing in, breathing out, keeping the leg really straight, pointing the toe. We're lifting the one leg and then we're going to lift the opposite leg. And we're going to keep this going. So lifting the arm and placing it back down. I want you to try and think about keeping the body on the floor. So we're not rolling the body over to lift the arm or the leg. We're using the glute, we're using the back, we're using the shoulders. If you want to increase, you can lift the opposite arm to opposite leg. Lifting it up at the same time and lowering that back down. Breathing into the nose, breathing back out through the mouth. If you really want to advance this further, you can lift all limbs up off the floor and you can swim. So lifting the opposite arms to opposite legs, keeping the movement nice and slow and controlled. If that becomes too much, place it back down. And just go back to lifting one at a time. Or you can go back further, lifting the one arm and the opposite arm, then the legs. If you want to mix and match a bit, you can do that. Breathing in through your nose, breathing back out through your mouth. Keeping the belly button pulled in. Okay, we're going to go round in a circle once more, or you're going to do one more each side. Once you're done, just place a hand underneath the forehead and just give the hips a bit of a wiggle side to side. Take a couple of breaths here. And then when you're ready, you're going to roll over onto your side and we're going to do our side legs. Now you can be up on your elbow or you can be down on your side, whichever you prefer, whichever's more comfortable. If you are up on the elbow, just pull the elbow in close to you to keep the shoulder secure. The shoulders are going to be stacked, our hips are going to be stacked as well. Best thing is to place your top hand on your hip to make sure it stays where it is, because you should be able to feel it rolling one way or the other. So you can keep it where it needs to be. Keeping the belly button in, keeping the ribs knitted down as well. We're going to have the legs bent, breathing in on the out breath. We're just going to clam that leg. And we're going to do this 8 times. So think about squeezing the glute, lifting that leg 8 times, keeping it nice and slow and controlled. Once you've done the 8, we're going to straighten the leg out and we're going to lift and lower the leg 8 times 2. Again, we're keeping the hips nice and level. Try not to swing them too much. Once you've done 8 with your legs straight, we're going to do our 8 little circles. So draw the circles back. And then we're going to draw the circles forward. So the opposite direction. So if you've done one way first, do the other way second. Making sure the leg is really straight. It's really important to keep that leg straight. Get the most out of the exercise. And once you've done that, we're just going to bring that leg back in. We're going to give it a bit of a rub. And we're going to go to the opposite side. So take your time getting round. And then reset yourself back up. So if we're going to be up on our elbow, we're pulling that elbow in towards us, keeping the shoulder engaged. We're thinking about pulling up that bottom rib as well. So I don't kind of want to see you chilling. We're keeping it all nice and secure. Stacked, hips are stacked. Hand on hip, Keep the legs bent, breathing in, breathing out, extending that leg up. So 8 clams this side. So think about squeezing the glute. We're keeping the hips steady. So we're not kind of rolling the hips to get the leg open. Staying nice and steady. We're lifting that up. Once you've done your 8 clams, we're going to do our 8 straight leg lifts. So again, we're keeping that movement nice and slow and controlled. The leg does not need to be very high either. The higher you get the leg, the more you kind of sink into it here. And we don't need to do that. We're keeping the hips nice and still. The leg's just opening slightly. Once you've done the 8 straight, we're going to do those 8 nice little circles. So we're going to do them one way, and then we're going to do them the other way. So it's up to you whether you want to go forward or backwards first. You'll find one will probably confuse the brain more than the other. That's normal. Once you've done those, nice and slow, I'm going to bring that back in. I'm just going to give it a bit of a rub and a pat. I'm going to do a nice little glute stretch. So take your time finishing those off. We're keeping that movement nice and slow and controlled. And then just roll over onto your back. We're going to pick our right leg up. We're going to place it across the left thigh. And we're going to push the knee away. So you can stay here if you like, or if you want to increase, you can pick the left foot up off the floor. Just take the hands behind and just bring that in towards you. Taking a couple of breaths here. Place that back down. We're going to switch sides. Pick the opposite leg up, place it across that thigh. We're going to push the knee away. Again, if you'd like to stay here, you can. If not, you can pick that leg up. And just take some breaths here. Okay, when you're ready, we're going to place the feet back down. We're going to do our toe taps. So I want you to place your hands just lightly either side of the body. You're going to think about pulling the belly button in towards the spine, and we're flattening that down towards the floor. So make sure there's no gap in that lower back. The ribs are knitting down into the hips too. So we're not pulling that down and flaring the ribs because that completely defeats the object. We want to make sure the whole core is working and the muscles start from the bottom of that rib cage. So we're holding that down, pulling that all in. We're going to pull our feet up into our tabletop position. So the knees are going to be roughly 90-degree angle. Now, if you want to increase, you can pull the shoulders up off the floor so we can just curl that up. I tend to find that makes it a little bit easier. It helps me keep my lower back into the floor if I'm curved up. We're going to take a deep breath in. On the out breath, we're going to bend that leg down from the hip. So we're tapping the toe down and we're bringing that up. So the knees are staying exactly as they are, but we're just dropping that hip down and we're bringing that back up. So we're not doing the can-can. We're just tapping that toe down. We're moving it from the hip. Breathing in, breathing out. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Making sure the belly button's still pulled down and you haven't started to arch that lower back. You might just need to tuck the tailbone under slightly. We're going to do 2 more each side. Keeping the movement nice and slow and controlled. Once you've done that, bring the knees in towards the chest, take the arms around and just rock side to side slightly, just to release the lower back. Okay, we're going to then do our glute bridge. So place our feet on the floor, just as close to your bum as you can. They're going to be roughly hip distance apart. Knees are going to be hip distance apart too. I want you to think about tucking the chin in slightly. So you need to see more ceiling in front than behind. Place the arms on the floor and just wiggle the shoulders away from the ears. Keeping that belly button pulled in. We're going to breathe in through our nose on the out breath. We're going to push through our heels, squeeze our glutes, and start to lift our pelvis up towards the ceiling or the sky, depending on where you're training. Breathing in at the top, breathing out, and slowly placing the spine back down to the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. Fantastic. So breathing in, breathing out, really thinking about squeezing the glutes, pushing through those heels all the way up into that ski slope position. We're keeping the ribs knitted down as well, so we're working that core all as one. Pulling the belly button in, we're curving up the pelvis, tucking that pelvis under, bringing that up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Keeping the shoulders pinned into the floor too, so just make sure they're wiggled away from the ears. The knees are roughly hip distance apart too as well, so think about pulling up on the inside of the thighs to keep those knees as they should be. In at the bottom, out on the way up. Maybe see if you can make the movement slightly slower. See how much your body starts to try and shake when you do. That's completely normal. It's just trying to overcome it. If you don't challenge yourself, you won't change. Breathing in at the top. Breathing out on the way down. Really squeezing those glutes to get the pelvis up. And we're going to do 2 more. Working with your breath, keeping it slow and controlled. Fantastic. We're then just going to take our one leg into the air. I'm just going to place the hands on our thigh. I'm just going to pull that in slightly just to stretch that hamstring. Let's take a couple of breaths here. Okay, take the leg across the body. Feel a stretch down the outside of the leg. Okay, and take that all the way out to the side. Feel a stretch down the inside of that leg. If you haven't got much room, you can bend the leg to take that down too. Okay, bring that back in. We're going to the opposite side. So just lift the other leg up. Take the hands lightly either side of the thigh. Okay, take that leg across the body. Feel the stretch down the outside of the leg. Okay, bring it back into the center, all the way out to the side. Feel the stretch down the inside of the leg. Okay, I'm going to bring that leg back in. We're going to do our spinal twist to finish. And we're just going to cross our right leg over our left, take our arms out, and just let the knees drop towards the left hand side. Take a few breaths here. Okay, bring that back into the center. And across the legs. I'm going to take the left leg over the right and just let the knees drop towards the right hand side. Okay, bring the knees back into the center. I'm going to uncross the legs. I'm just going to make our way up into a comfortable seated position. take your time, take a couple of breaths, bring your awareness back. And thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do have any questions, as always, drop us a comment, send us a message on any of our socials, and have a nice rest of your day, whatever you're doing. See you soon. Bye.